Know me, some of you don't know me. I'd like to start today by taking a moment to introduce myself and what I do as we get into this practice of letting go of anger and finding peace. So my name is Victoria Angel Hart. I'm a mindfulness meditation teacher trained at UCLA, and I've been studying mindfulness-based habit change under Dr. Judson Brewer for the last 3 years, and I just finished my training as an NLP, neuro-linguistic programming coach. So I put a lot of different healing modalities together in the work that I offer. And my new course, called Real Relief from Everyday Stressors, touches on what we're going to go through today. And I want to start by just inviting you to recognize, first of all, that anger is a normal human emotion, and that there's nothing wrong with you feeling anger, and that you are going to, for this class, just for this class, you're going to put down your judgment around your anger, your regret around your anger, all those things that sort of come with anger. Put it all down so that we can have a fresh perspective on anger. Because when we look at anger with new eyes, we can begin to find a sense of peace. And I'm going to teach you a technique today that my course is on called Real Relief. And some of you may have already heard of or taken my course, Head into Heart Space. And in that course, you can find a practice on real relief. You can also find it on my Insight Timer teacher page. There's real pain relief and real stress relief and real fear relief already posted. So with anger, when we set down our judgment around we shouldn't be angry, and we start to look at what's going on, we can recognize that, first of all, anger is coming to us as an outward manifestation of something that is off in our internal compass. We feel this sense of anger because there is something that's real there. And when we delegitimize it, we get in this sticky place of like, oh, I shouldn't feel angry. Oh, no, anger's not good for me. Or suppressing it, or oh, I'm not angry. Any of that, we're actually keeping ourselves from having the richness of the human experience. And so regardless of what thing right now is creating anger in you, I want you to just turn toward it. Instead of turning away, turn toward it with a sense of appreciation. That this anger is showing up as a teacher for you. It's showing you your compass. It's showing you what is true and real in your lived experience, in the way you make sense and perceive the world. And sometimes, yes, our anger gets the best of us, and sometimes our anger can be misguided, it can be too intense, but at its core, anger is not something that we should be afraid of, and it's not something that we should make wrong. Instead, we can appreciate that it is here, and we can actually make a conscious decision to not let it rule us. So just take a moment and think back around the last time you got angry. You can close your eyes if you'd like, and see if perhaps in that moment when you felt anger in your body, you just reacted. Maybe you didn't actually pay attention to if it was appropriate in that moment or if it was warranted, but you just said or did something that you blurted out because the anger got the best of you. And then just notice, how does it feel in your body as you recognize what you did? When you were experiencing anger, you reacted, and that reaction had a consequence, either internally in your internal landscape or externally toward another person. So just taking a moment to be in a state of reflection here. And then ask yourself this question: what did I get from that? What did I get out of that? And just see what arises. There's no right or wrong answer, but just with an attitude of openness and curiosity. What did you get from acting on your anger. You might, Robert says, I felt so bad for yelling at her. My anxiety went through the roof. Heather says, old anger from the past is hard to let go. There's so many things that come up when we're angry, and we don't often recognize, oh, that anger that I directed outwardly, it didn't actually serve the purpose that I wanted. Some of you have been following me for a while here on the Insight Timer and know that in my past I lived and served at Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery in Mississippi called Magnolia Grove Monastery. And one of the most beautiful things that we talked about there and that Thich Nhat Hanh teaches is that we all have seeds growing inside of our belly. And he calls them the like kind of weird English way that he puts it is unwholesome mental formations and wholesome mental formations. And anger is one of those unwholesome mental formations that when we water it inside of us, what it blooms inside of us might not be something that we want to be experiencing. But we don't always look and learn what we've experienced and what we got out of the way that we reacted. Oftentimes we just review and regret. So I want to invite you, first of all, to see if perhaps you can shift your relationship with anger, where you move away from reviewing and regretting this unwholesome mental formation that exists inside of you because you're a human and we all have anger. And you've been conditioned to act in certain ways when you feel angry because that's how your parents were, that's how movies were, that's how your family was. And see what would happen if instead of regretting yelling at your dog or regretting that you didn't do something or you did too much of something, whatever it is, what if you shifted into the perspective of looking back to say, what can I learn from this? And what if what you learn is that the way you have expressed anger in the past is not helpful? The way that you've been taught to show up and to speak in anger is actually hurting the people that you love the most, hurting yourself the most when you speak in anger toward yourself. And what if you begin to reorient yourself to finding that perhaps these ways that you have expressed your anger in the past can change? That just because you've spent your whole life yelling at your dog when he barks when you're on the phone doesn't mean you have to keep yelling at your dog when he barks when you're on the phone. What if instead you choose a different behavior? This comes down to a principle about reacting versus responding. And when it comes to feeling anger, we're usually reacting. We are acting from the past. We're doing something over again because we think that it's going to work. If we just yell at them, they'll stop doing that thing. But if that worked, wouldn't we not have any anger left? But somehow we keep doing it over and over again. We think that doing this same action in anger will create a new response. And that's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, hoping you get a different response. So what if you can start to respond when anger arises within you? Instead of blurting out the first thing you say, instead of slamming your fist down, instead of gripping the steering wheel, instead of whatever you've instinctively trained yourself and been conditioned to do, what if you pause? What if you shift that anger before it comes out and is made manifest into the world, where you might have some regret? What if instead you turn toward the feeling in your body and begin to listen to what it has to teach you, what it has to inform you, and how you can learn from the anger and choose to consciously respond instead of reacting out of the habituated beliefs. I'm going to pause for a moment and take questions or see what's coming up for you around this before we continue on learning the technique I'd like to teach you to find peace. Anthony, I would say that reaction and response are both important in life, especially becoming aware of our reactions. Because the way that we react to something is based on the past, and the way we respond to something is based on the present. That's what I want to offer you today, is a technique to find freedom from your anger by choosing consciously to pause. And to do this technique, it's called real relief, where instead of saying something, instead of just sending that text back or firing off the angry email, you take 1 minute to go through the 4 steps of real relief to just see if there might be another way. So I'm going to teach you the practice of real relief by walking you through it in a scenario that's happened to you recently. This is a thought experiment, and it's also an experiential learning opportunity, so I invite you to close your eyes. And we will begin together by just grounding into our bodies. Taking a deep breath in through your nose and letting any angry sounds come out of your mouth. Whatever feels good to you. Do that a couple of times. And notice just by making sound if things already begin to shift in your internal landscape. Now I want you to feel your feet either on the ground or tucked underneath you. And as you feel them there, remember that any time it feels like too much during this practice, you can get out of your mind and drop all the way down into your feet. So let's do that now. Imagine your consciousness coming up here from all the thoughts in your mind and dropping directly down into your feet, putting all your attention here in your feet. And as you breathe in, feel the cool breath of the earth, breathing into the bottoms of your feet, relaxing you. And as you breathe out, let yourself release this anger, release any stagnant energy back out of the bottoms of your feet. So know that this is your safe place. You can feel it rising, this peaceful energy from the earth. As you breathe out, you can feel it coming over you as you let go even more of what you're ready to be free of. So now I invite you to call to mind the last time that you were angry. And this could be anger with yourself, or this could be anger with someone else. It doesn't actually matter. What matters is for you to just call it to mind and re-envision it in front of you. Hear what you heard, see what you saw, feel what you felt. And now, the beginning of real relief starts with the acronym. The acronym Real Relief starts with the beginning letter R, which is to recognize. So first, I want you to just silently say to yourself, whatever word feels most true, anger, frustration, rage, pissed off, whatever it is, just go ahead and silently label it to yourself. There might be more than one, that's okay. But in order to get relief, in order to find peace, you have to start with naming what's there. So you recognized R. There's anger. And now the E of real relief is to experience it in your body. And oftentimes we don't like this. We don't want to feel anger. We want to make the anger go away. We push it down. We pretend that it's not there. We dissociate. We distract ourselves. We do all these things. But just for the next 1 minute, I invite you to turn on your scientist eyes. And as the scientist of your life, get really curious. How do I experience anger? So notice in your belly, maybe there's like a fire in your belly. Maybe there's a clenching in your chest or your heart is pounding. Maybe you get really hot. Maybe your hands clench, your jaw clenches, your eyes get all beady. Just see how anger shows up in you when you turn toward it with curiosity and you experience the sensation of anger instead of immediately reacting. So wherever the anger shows up, let it be there and don't make it wrong. Instead of making it a problem that your stomach is clenched or that there is a tightness in your jaw, just look at, oh, this is how my body responds to these thoughts, to these emotions. And now we'll move into the A of real relief, and this is really the crux of it. Allow yourself to feel the anger. Allow yourself to be okay with the fact that you are experiencing anger right now. Instead of wanting to release your anger by projecting it outward onto someone else, or by stuffing it down and pretending it's not there, suppressing it, see what happens if you recognize, oh, this is an experience that is happening in me already. This is here now. Rather than, I am angry. What if you change it to, I have anger? And you allow yourself to be with not the concept of anger, but the lived experience from the inside out. Let yourself see what happens if you shift from judging it, making it wrong, or needing to get it out of you, to just letting it be okay because you know already that it will change. It will leave. You have never stayed angry for your whole life. Anger comes and goes. So allow it in this moment to be there without having to do anything. And now the final step of getting real relief from anger is L. Let go with love. And you let go by, instead of regretting something, by turning toward it and asking, what can I learn? What do I need to know? Let go of having to get even or to be right. And instead of doing something externally, letting go with a sense of gratitude, compassion, loving kindness, as you recognize that this anger is coming as your teacher to wake you up so that you can take your power back, so that you can make a conscious choice to respond to whatever triggered you in the first place, where you don't have to react. You don't just do the thing you've always done, but instead you recognize, oh, anger is here. Okay, it wants me to know something. It wants me to know that something is off. It wants me to use my voice. It wants to be felt. It wants to come out, but it doesn't have to be directed toward anyone else. I think I might misquote it a little bit, but Martin Luther King Jr. said, hate doesn't drive out hate. Only love can do that. So inviting in this sense of loving kindness, this sense of compassion for yourself, because whatever made you angry, if it was something that you did or said, or something that someone else said and did to you, or someone cutting you off in traffic, no matter what it was, you are waking up to see that you have a choice. You are in control of how you respond to life. And you get to choose to respond with compassion, with kindness, or you can choose to respond with anger. But you do have the choice. You can water these unwholesome mental formations, or you can water the wholesome mental formations. So sometimes, just by taking a moment to experience anger in your body, to allow it to be there, and to invite in a letting go of needing to do anything about it, and inviting in a sense of loving kindness while you look at what you can learn, you find that the charge of the anger, the intensity of the anger goes away, or at least it shifts. So see now, after having gone through the real relief process, on a 1 to 10 scale, where's your anger now? Or has it completely disappeared? I'm not saying that you should never speak up for yourself, or you should never defend yourself, or you should never take a stand when you get angry. I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm simply inviting you to look within first, to see how anger can be your teacher, and to see how you can more consciously and benevolently respond to whatever is showing up without making a problem out of it or making it even worse by unconsciously reacting. So let's all take a moment to put our hands over our heart and just invite in a sense of gratitude for being willing to explore anger, to find a sense of peace, inviting in a sense of peace into every cell in your body in this moment, as you recognize that the anger does not serve you as much as love does, as love is your true nature. So letting yourself be with your true nature that is deep, deep within your heart, beyond the surface changing emotion of anger, deep in here, is still love. And you can choose to come from that place of love to respond to whatever has made you angry. When you're ready, you can open your eyes